Today, we are picking a stock in the Indian pharmaceutical space. This firm was the fifth largest generic pharmaceutical company globally in 2023. Moreover, it is the largest generics medicine supplier in US by scripts, the second largest in India by revenue, and easily in the top 10 European countries. However, it recently failed the recent USFDA check on one of its manufacturing unit, which actually accounts for a significant portion on one of its largest business segments. It is not the first time that it has encountered such regulatory problems, and it has seamlessly crossed through each one of them in a stride. Will it be able to do it again? Will the stock rise? चलिए जानते हैं. तो शुरू करते हैं एक अनबायस्ड कवरेज जस्ट बेस्ड ऑन फैक्ट्स ऑन द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट जेनरिक pharma manufacturer in India, Aurobindo Pharma. My name is Ashish Thomas. I'm an IIM graduate and a management consultant. My daily job is to evaluate firms, understand their risk, and anticipate market moves. And I thought, why not apply all of that to the stock market? So here we are, and let's jump right in. The agenda of today is as follows. As you've seen with our previous videos, we begin with the industry analysis and then move on to the business model. We'll then take a peek under the hood on its financials. फिर इसके बाद कंपनी के रिस्क देखेंगे and finally the valuations. With that preamble, let's dive in to understand the winds of change in the industry. So before we get started, when a drug goes off patent, that is that exclusive right to produce the medicine, it can then be replicated by all the other firms in the market. If the firm uses chemicals to replicate the drug, it is called a generic. अगर वो एक living organism like yeast या bacteria में बनाते हैं, तो उसे biosimilar कहते हैं. ये दोनों original drug से काफी cheap होते हैं, तो यहाँ volume का game होता है. There are other things to differentiate, but a good starting point for us as we think about the generics biosimilar industry outlook. The generics market is projected to grow at 7% CAGR globally to hit $650 billion by 2028. Similarly, the biosimilar market is growing at 18% CAGR to hit $70 billion by 2028. इसके growth के भी दो तीन basic reasons हैं. Our world is aging, so there is a high prevalence of chronic diseases. कैंसर हो गया, arthritis हो गया, diabetes हो गया. तो ये सब lifelong जो treatment है, इसके लिए generics becomes cheaper. Globally, काफी healthcare के costs are borne by the government. India has government hospitals, US has Medicaid. So there is a pressure to decrease the cost to effectively use the taxpayer money. So generics works out here also. And when I say generics, I'm also referring to the biosimilar. There's a huge demand from a consumer also for cheaper drugs in the market. So by default, यहाँ से demand है. And interestingly, over $217 billion in original patents are set to expire in the next 5 years. And every generics maker is rushing to be the first and globally approved biosimilar for that drug line. So a very growing market right now. India, in fact, is one of the largest suppliers of the low-cost vaccine, contributing to 60% of world production, propelled by a lot of government schemes. So overall, there is a lot of development which is happening. Let's take a look on what are the top generic manufacturers in 2023. So Aurobindo Pharma was number 5 in 22, number 6 in 23, and will this year hit number 4, displacing Viatris and Biocon with its stellar 2023 Q2 numbers. So a good sunrise industry is where we are talking about today. Let's move on to the next section. We start with taking a glance on some of the highlights of the firm and then move on to understand the competitive edge and the strategy by the company. Then we'll look at some of the news in the market for the firm, the merger acquisitions, कोई नई factory, any corporate action that has happened. So Aurobindo Pharma has nearly 40 years of experience in manufacturing APIs, formulations, biosimilars and vaccines. It covers 6 major product areas ranging from Oncology to Cardiology to HIV. Interestingly, if you were to map the top diseases by country where Auro operates, it has products to combat heart disease in US and Europe, HIV in China, diabetes in Brazil. We've already mentioned that it is the largest generic pharma manufacturer by prescription in US and already has 25 operating accredited manufacturing units across the globe. Now, in terms of the generic moat that Aurobindo is going to think about from a competitive edge perspective, it has a post-chemo drug, Ryzneuta, which is the only global single-use drug. Currently, the drugs today, even in India, are multi-use, so it is expected to have a significant market share capture as it's now part of the disease management in US, China, and it's awaiting approvals in EU. It has also created biosimilars on few blockbuster drugs, so it has almost 1 to 2 years lead over other competitors. दूसरा उनके verticals integrated facility vertically integrated है, so it means they can procure and produce their products at a really low cost. They are also working towards building further capacity, which again is very hard to replicate in a short time. And finally, काफी focus है R&D पे. उनका काफी deep product pipeline है with over 700 new drugs application and 500 approvals over the last year. उन्होंने global market में 4,000 plus drug formulations की filing की थी. So a tough niche to replicate for the other players. In terms of news, there are 4 major things that are happening which are impacting Aurobindo. There are multiple generic products that were launched last year and it has received approvals for the same. On Feb 5th, 2024, it got 9 observations on its injectable plant. This resulted in a temporary halt in the product and the production. On February 26th, coming right now, Aurobindo is going to submit a response. Management has indicated that the part of the plant will be operational in the next few weeks, with the entire plant going online in the next 3 to 5 months. So this is the key news that we need to look out for. In terms of the new facilities, there is new facilities which are being launched in India, China, US. So there is a lot for it to grow in terms of capacity. And finally, it acquired 15 brands from Viatris and Pfizer, which it launched in Indonesia, acquired a major stake in GLS, and signed multiple agreements to enter different product lines. Example is the Singapore Pediatrics HIV market, which it's going to enter now. With that, let's look at some of the numbers now. So numbers don't lie. Before we go there, आपने काफी सारे stock videos देखे होंगे, but very few are going into the depth like we are doing today. So please go like the video if you haven't already and do subscribe. वहाँ bell icon होगा, उस पे all notification click कीजिएगा so that you're up to date with all the things that I'll be doing, launching a new company analysis every 3 days. We have over 2,000 stocks and only 365 days. तो content तो काफी आने वाला है. Some typing and a quick search later. 2023 was a tough year for all generic pharma in US. Government of US launched Inflation Reduction Act, which capped the generics prices, only allowing it to grow at an inflation rate each year. This impacted both EBITDA and the net income of the firm. To counteract this, Auro launched a diverse range of orals and injectable products to boost its revenue numbers. So remember the green there. This is reflective of the high pickup in December 2023 half-yearly numbers that they announced. So the bold one which is there. Revenue is up by 15%, EBITDA grew by 13% and profit by 5%. So there's a clear clawback that the firm managed to do despite the macro pressures. इस साल के inflation prices increase के बाद and the raw materials prices which has decreased, these numbers are more likely to improve. On the operating front, operating cash flow is positive. There's a lot of capex which is planned because all the PLI schemes that the Indian government is doing to boost the industry. However, their decision to give dividends is questionable as it resulted in the net negative free cash flow. So the company gave dividends without earning that much in the year. So that's one questionable thing that they did. The ratios right now are moderate to poor. However, we know with the improved results that we saw in December 2023, it's going to self-correct itself by the next year. Equity research analysts have predicted that the share price will grow by 14%. Its revenue growth is around 12% that they are predicting and a profit growth of almost 40%. Now they are banking on the launch of new drugs, price erosion reducing in the injectable segment, and जो नया product mix आया है उससे revenue काफी boost होगा. Also in the growth markets, which includes India, they had a really good showing in the entire the first 6 months of the 2023. And finally, note on the shareholders, the holding pattern is stable. There was no insider buying or selling of additional shares in the market. However, FII shared 1.7% share, which completely got picked up by domestic investors like HDFC Asset Management, LIC, etc. Now, the surprising thing is the FIIs like Goldman Sachs, which divested itself, they themselves have predicted that the share price of Aurobindo, they are projecting at 1,200 basically for the year. So, unsure as to why this sudden shift has happened. With every great investment comes some noteworthy risks. So इनके 90% business exports में है, so any geopolitical tension, trade policy changes can all impact Aurobindo's operations. दूसरा काफी competitive है landscape, which is another risk. Aurobindo को continuous R&D investment, acquisition and marketing करना पड़ेगा. Third major risk is a delay in the product approvals, which may slow down the company's ability to introduce new drugs to market promptly. And another concern is the pricing pressure. So ये pressure इनके oral drug segment में है, जहाँ इनका काफी strong position है. So until the pricing stabilizes, ये margins erode होने वाले हैं. Now the injectable segment में, I think there is going to be an improvement in the pricing erosion, so it may not get impacted that much. Now finally, the most awaited section, or at least what I think is important, is the valuation. For simplicity, I've taken all the financial numbers, and this is the football field that you're very aware of from my previous videos. अगर आप इक्विटी रिसर्च टारगेट्स देखें तो देयर लो इज 1175 and going high as 11305. When I ran the relative valuation and looked for some trading comparables, I used Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy, Cipla, Abbott among others. The relative valuations in stock was coming around 1170 and 1460. I'll also add that the PE of the stock is 22, which is better than the market median of 34 to 35. Its book value was around 480 rupees, so quite less than the actual market value right now, the current market value. Its intrinsic valuation or the DCF, which is अगर आप सिर्फ financials को देखो और project करो, is coming between 1006 and 1158 with a discounted capital or WACC of 9.7% and a long-term growth of 6.5%. So the stock is right priced at the moment with a potential upside of 6 to 10%, which is a decent move from the market perspective right now. So final thoughts. अगर आप लोगों को अच्छा लग रहा हो वीडियो तो जरूर लिखना what is the next share that you want me to look into, and do not forget to click the bell icon to get all the notifications. The goods: strong pipeline, vertical integration, new capacity building, 150 plus countries being targeted, and the latest numbers boost the confidence in the financial of the shares. The bads, the return are very average at the moment. The valuation is just right price, and the price erosion, if it truly happens, might continue on its largest revenue segment. I think with that, my opinion is that there is still more goods to Aurobindo than the bad. With the potential upside, I would think of holding onto the stock if you already have it. For entering the market, it would have to be a long-term view with a sheer number of opportunities to grow for Aurobindo Pharma. But you need to keep in mind that Feb 26 is going to be a very important date because that is the day when Aurobindo plans to respond to USFDA, and the next couple of months will be critical for the response to come back on its operations of a plant. With that, that's all from me for today. I hope this has given you a great starting point as you think about Aurobindo Pharma as a share. Do like the video. Please drop in the comment if you like something or anything that I should change. आपके comments काफी valuable रहेंगे as I continue to build the channel. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and finally share this with some of the like-minded people and investors. Do note that I'm not SEBI registered, so these are my independent view and analysis. So please do your own research too, and let me know what you feel about Aurobindo Pharma. Thank you.